Welcome to the channel. Shocking photo of the world.
Muhammad Ali, heavyweight boxing champion of the world, with Johnny Coulomb, champion of 1910, in his Chicago gym, Chicago, Illinois, USA, 1966. Photographer Thomas Hopker, Kiowa and Lakota Indian couple, Santa Fe, New Mexico, 1992. Photographer Richard Oyard, a worker bottling ketchup at the original Heinz factory, circa 1897. Marilyn Monroe visited wounded soldiers in Japan in 1954. The soldier in the photo had a broken back and was recuperating lying face down. The O'Halloran sisters, armed with sticks and boiling water, fought off officers who tried to evict them during the Irish Land War, 1889. A high-rise worker on one of the world's largest bridges, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, 1971. His name is Paul Hogan, and 15 years later, he would become famous as Crocodile Dundee. Federal Reserve Bank, New York, 1959. To protect their feet from falling bullion, they must wear lightweight, but very strong magnesium shoe covers, which cost $500 each. An unemployed man sold space on his bald head to advertise a sports magazine. Budapest, 1939. Pilot Dick Orme tests an inflatable rubber plane with a 40 horsepower engine. USA, 1956. A rescue dog stands in front of the destroyed World Trade Center. September 2001. Clark Gable and Vivien Leigh play Chinese checkers between scenes in Gone with the Wind. 1939. Wrestlers Maria Beer and Julie Frank perform a twisting hold during their fight for the European Women's Wrestling Championship. 1901. A couple ice skating on Whitestone Pond, Hampstead, London. 1933. A saloon that allowed children to drink beer from kid glasses, Wisconsin. 1890. Lella King, America's first female traffic cop. 1918. J.W. Waldron Smith and Bicycle Works shop in Brighton, England, circa 1900. The first photograph of a tornado near Garnett, Kansas, April 26, 1884. A Tlingit Indian woman, Kaukla, in traditional costume. 1906. A British Army Guard collapses as Queen Elizabeth II rides past during a parade. 1970. British beer drinking champion George Dyler, who could drink a pint, 0.56 litres, in 4 seconds. 1954. Mujahideen carry air-filled leather bags to cross a river, Afghanistan. 1980. Mercedes-Benz W125 record-wagon racing car exhibited in the German pavilion at the World Exhibition. 1937. Paris. Audrey Hepburn in costume for the film My Fair Lady. 1963. USA. The film won 8 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Costumes. Door to a bunker for congressman in case of nuclear war, West Virginia, USA. 1960s. A pawn shop in West Berlin in the first days after the fall of the wall. 1989. A fireman saves Torah scrolls, the most sacred object in Judaism, from a burning synagogue. 1940s. Girl and soldier of the Royal Guard of Honor, Stockholm, Kingdom of Sweden. 1970 South. Fake trees were used as observation posts, World War I years. Sergeant Stubby is a famous war dog who fought in World War I. He's the only dog in history to be awarded the military rank of sergeant. American children working after school. 1911. Children aged 8 and up in some cities did menial jobs after school, such as shucking oysters. Vending tanning machine. 1930. For just 10 cents, ladies could tan themselves right on the street. One of the last photographs of the famous Apache Indian chief Geronimo. He died on February 17, 1909, of pneumonia. While drunk, he fell from his horse into icy water and became very ill. A drinking party aboard the luxury liner SS Manhattan off the coast of New York, December 5, 1933. Before the repeal of Prohibition, passenger ships cruised 12 miles off the coast of the United States. Soldier of the US Army Pigeon Corps, World War I. October 1918. Back massager, one of the world's first exercise machines, developed by Dr. Gustav Zander in 1892. Taxi driver and his car, Norway, 1917. The balloon on the roof is a container for gas, which was used instead of petrol during World War I, and a few years later, a pistol with a camera that is triggered just before the shot, 1938. A janitor sweeps the floor of the New York Stock Exchange after the Wall Street crash of 1929. The last photograph of Mikhail Bulgakov blind, with a temperature of 42 degrees. He continued to dictate corrections to the master and Margarita to his wife, Moscow, 1939. A portable sauna known as the Reducomatic became popular in the 1940s and was believed to burn fat. Frank Ballou and Samuel Peterson test a new metal bulletproof shield. The shield's inventor, Elliot Wisbrod, is the man holding it. Blanche Monnier, a French woman renowned for her beauty, who wanted to marry a lawyer, but her mother disapproved of the union, so she locked her in a small, dark room in the attic for 25 years. Texas children walked to school during the Dust Bowl of 1936. Face masks were used to prevent sand pneumonia. The Dust Bowl was a series of catastrophic timber storms that occurred across the prairies of the United States and Canada between 1930 and 1936. A health department employee vaccinates dancers at Beely Rose's Diamond Horseshoe nightclub against smallpox. New York City, USA, 1947. In 1904, Louis Coulomb became famous for his 4-meter-long beard, which he mainly used to keep his cats in it. Blind French soldiers wounded during World War. I learned to weave baskets. 1918. Valentine Tapley promised never to shave again if Abraham Lincoln was elected president. He died in 1910 with a 10-foot beard. Miss Universe contestants continue to pose for the press as Miss New Zealand faints in the scorching sun in Long Beach, California, 1954. Sunglasses 2000. Several possible versions of the future glasses models. Presented at the exhibition in London in 1969. American women draw on themselves fashionable nylon stockings that they cannot afford. 1942. Pictured are cabaret dancers from a New York restaurant who were accused of wearing indecent clothing and participating in an immoral dance. 1922. In 1957, in Italy, you could get fined for wearing a bikini, which is what happened to this woman, and this is another option for improving the appearance of that time. A rubber mask that tightened the facial tissues and improved the overall appearance of the skin. View from the window is considered the first photograph in history, taken by Joseph Niepce in 1825. A South Korean policeman measures the length of a woman's skirt during a nationwide campaign to crack down on long-haired men and women in short skirts. 1973. Model Angela Morrison wins 3 beauty titles for having the most beautiful eyes funny, shot by Sunday People photographer Dennis Hutchinson. 1980s. The lady in the Paris cafe thinks the same thing about Mademoiselle as the pensioners at our entrances in similar cases. Navan Levsanjin Genapil, the last official queen consort of Mongolia, the wife of Bog Jegin VIII. In 1924, she held this status for less than a year. She was executed in May 1938 during the repressions. A photograph of a diver in 1899. Many believe this is the first photograph taken underwater. A man searches for books in the old Cincinnati Public Library. The building was torn down in 1955. Today, its site is occupied by an office building and a parking lot. 1930s burlesque performer Sherry Britton was said to have a figure to die for. The 18-year-old singer Adele was captured in this shot before she achieved international recognition. In the picture, she holds a glass of drink at the Fiat launch party. In 2006, the famous Mata Hari, actress, exotic dancer, courtesan and spy. In Paris, 1910s, Alan Rickman on set during an iconic moment in Die Hard, 1988. Boxer Jack Johnson, the first black world heavyweight champion, and Finnish police, Helsinki, 1906, a car is tested for resistance to lightning strikes by applying a discharge of 3 million volts. 1942. Elvis Presley styling Johnny Cash's hair. 1960. Brigitte Bardot. 1960. African king riding a subject and holding an umbrella. German East Africa. 1913. Cabaret Moulin Rouge, Paris. 1923. 3 women accused of witchcraft. China. 1922. Scorpions. 1965. Jim Morrison and Pamela Courson. Los Angeles. 1969. North American Indian couple. 1912. Piano for the bedridden. UK. 1935. A patient is held in a mental hospital in France in 1900. Bride from Helsingland, Sweden, circa 18,701,899. Colosseum and Arch of Constantine. Italy founded 1870. Justin Trudeau, former Prime Minister of Canada, 1990s. Photograph of Venice, Italy, circa 1900. Photochromic image of young women on the island of Mochcan, Holland, between 1890 and 1900. A boy skates with a pillow tied to his back to cushion his fall on ice, Netherlands, 1933. Members of Robert Scott's South Pole Expedition in an ice cave, 1911. Hachiko at Shibuya Station, Tokyo, 1933. Akita Inu Hachiko became a legend of loyalty. He would accompany his owner to the station, wait for him after work, even after his owner died in 1925. The dog came to the station for 9 years. Vietnam Unification Day, 1975. Elderly women. Their faces a map of the years they've lived through, mark a historic moment. Skating rink in the Forbidden City, Beijing, 1957. The Forbidden City is a former imperial fortress where mere mortals were not allowed to enter. And here is a skating rink, ice, laughter, and ordinary life in the heart of Beijing. Geisha School, Japan, 1951. The teacher plays the shamisen, while the students absorb the traditions. View of Fujiyama, Japan, 1920. An active volcano, the highest point in Japan. In this picture, Fujiyama rises as a symbol of eternity. Hanoi, Vietnam, 1939. Rice fields, labor, and 3 harvests a year. Vietnam was already laying the foundations for becoming the world's leading rice exporter. Girls with bound feet, Shaanxi, China, 1930. The brutal custom of foot binding, dating back to the Song dynasty. Crippled bones and lives. Checking the catch, Nha Trang, Vietnam, 1950. Fishermen, the sea, nets, a simple life by the water, where every day is a struggle for the catch and food. Fishing with cormorants, China, 1946. Trained cormorants dive for fish, an ancient method still alive in China and Japan. Soba noodle delivery, Tokyo, 1956. Demi-couriers race through the streets delivering hot soba, fast, tasty, without losing shape. A true Japanese classic. Tiananmen Square, Beijing, the 1989 protest. Students, tents, hope for change, and, as often happens, hope drowned in blood. A square in Beijing, 1901. A photo where time stands still. Beijing is on the threshold of a new century, not yet knowing what upheavals lie ahead. Shaolin monks training, China, 1971. Shaolin monks are not just fighters, but philosophers whose discipline and fortitude still inspire today. Students studying, Hangzhou, China, 1917. The children hunched over their notebooks represent the future that was being built even in those turbulent times. Bangkok, 1950. Coca-Cola in Thailand plays its trump card. It is announced as the spirit's favorite drink. Sales soar, leaving Pepsi behind. Tokyo family watches moon landing, 1969. On July 21, 1969, the world was glued to their screens. In Tokyo, too, a family held their breath as they watched the first steps on the moon. Men of Leyden, Sichuan, China, 1908, carrying 144 kilograms of tea for Tibet on their backs, 10 kilometers a day. Strength, endurance and the spirit of old China in one frame. A company of captured German, PZ, KPFW, V Panther tanks of Guards, Lieutenant Sotnikov east of Prague, packing the Hermitage treasures, 1941. 1954 June 27, launch of the world's first nuclear power plant in Obninsk, 1957 July 28, August 11th, 6th World Festival of Youth and Students in Moscow, 1970 to May 26, signing in Moscow of the basics of relations between the USSR and the USA, 1986 April 26, Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident, cleaning the roof of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant from radioactive pieces of fuel, debris, and fuel elements. Fuel element Phi. Robert Liston was a pioneering Scottish surgeon. Liston was renowned for his skill in the pre-anesthetic era, when speed mattered in terms of pain and survival. William Stanley Milligan, aka Billy Milligan, 24 persons inside. Hiru Onoda was a second lieutenant in the Japanese Military Intelligence Service, who fought against Allied forces on the Philippine island of Lubang during World War II, from 1944, and for many years afterward, refusing to believe that the war was over. Marcel Pla is the first and only black Polynesian to fight in the Russian army. During World War I, Marcel served as a motor gunner on one of the Ilya Muromets biplanes in the Imperial Air Force. Jack Churchill was a lieutenant colonel, a recipient of the Distinguished Service Order and the Military Cross. He is famous for going into battle in World War rearmed with an English longbow and arrows and a Scottish broadsword. Pietro Mara Pedrillo was the favourite jester of Empress Anna Ionovna, who, thanks to his wit and resourcefulness, made a brilliant career as a court jester. He left Russia with a large fortune. Harry Potter is a private in the Royal Worcestershire Regiment of the British Army, whose grave in Ramon, Israel, became a tourist attraction after the publication of the books by J.K. Rowling. Vampire Likoy Old Russian is the first known ancient Russian scribe, a priest of the 11th century who lived in Novgorod. Lina Marcella Medina Durada, a Peruvian woman who became the youngest confirmed mother in medical history, gave birth at the age of 5 years, 7 months and 21 days. In 1822, Canadian Alexis Bidegain, nicknamed St. Martin, was shot in the stomach with a pellet and developed a gastric fistula. Tarari was a French showman and soldier known for his unusual eating habits. He could eat incredible amounts of food, including completely inedible things and objects, and still remain hungry. In California, a research center observed 42-year-old Frank White, who has never had a watch, but always knows the exact time, down to the second, once he was sent to the center, upon entering which, he determined with precision that the wall clock was fast by 52 seconds. And he was right. Amu Haji, a man who has not washed for over 60 years, was not sick with anything special, and is a phenomenon listed in the Guinness Book of Records as the dirtiest man in the world. Guards of Maharaja Ram Singh III at the Royal Palace of Jaipur, 1858. Zabeks were militias and guerrillas who lived in the Aegean region of the Ottoman Empire from the late 17th to early 20th centuries. Japanese samurai, a military feudal class of minor nobles. Palace of Soviets Moscow is a 420-meter high project, the construction of which was started, but not completed for a number of reasons. The building of the People's Commissariat of Heavy Industry of the USSR is the building of the People's Commissariat of Heavy Industry of the USSR, which was supposed to be built on Red Square on the site of the Upper Trading Rows, now the Gum Building. Nikitin Tower, Travasha, designed by Soviet architects for Japan. House of Soviets in Stalingrad according to the project of the late 1930s. The center of Stalingrad was to be the 9th January Square named after V.I. Lenin, on which they planned to build a grand 10-story stepped building, with wide 3-flight stairs, and an 18-meter sculpture of Vladimir Ilyich leading to the main entrance. Arch of the Heroic Defenders of Moscow is a project in honor of the heroic battle of the Red Army for Moscow. Safety Superintendent Clifford Roberts serves as a model during a fire training course for hospital staff. Richmond, 1965. Steinhoff Bobsled, 4-2. New Jersey, early 1900s. The purpose for which this unusual form of transport was created is unknown. The 1923 inflation in Germany meant that $1 American was worth 4.7 trillion for $1.7 trillion German marks. A rare photo of North Korean leader Kim Il-sung of a tumor on his neck. Photographers were forbidden to photograph the right side of his face. Late 1980s. The first black actress to win an Oscar was Hattie McDaniel, 1940, a motorist on the edge of the Grand Canyon, USA, 1914. Nothing has changed in 100 years for those who like to take risks for the sake of a beautiful photograph. A girl with her pet cat in a stroller and a dog. This photo was taken in Cleveland, Ohio, USA, sometime in the early 1900s. Little newspaper sellers, USA, 1909. They were called newsboys and played a key role in distributing news throughout cities. Children began working as newsboys as early as 8 years old. Testing a bulletproof vest, Washington, 1923. Not the best way to test a bulletproof vest. In those days, everything was tested on oneself. The engineer who built the bridge stood underneath it, while a test locomotive passed over it. Pennsylvania Station, 1920s. The station is located in New York City and was opened in 1910. It is named after the Pennsylvania Railroad, the largest railroad carrier in the 19th century. Old Drive's new iron horse tricycle, California, 1882. One of the first models of a chainsaw, Berlin, 1931. German engineer, inventor, and founder of the Stihl Company, Andreas Stihl, invented the world's first chainsaw in 1926. It was electric and had two handles at both ends. It weighed 64 kilograms and required two people to saw it. A worker hangs pasta to dry. Italy, 1932. Neapolitan or solar drying is an old way of drying pasta. During the day, the products were hung on special poles in the scorching sun, and at night they were put away in the basement. A suspended monorail over the Wupper River in the German city of Wuppertal, 1913. This is the oldest electric overhead railway in the world, with suspended carriages. It was opened in 1901 and is still in operation today. Race with Costco. The little elephant was a gift from Vietnam and was allowed to roam freely around the zoo because there was no outdoor enclosure for her yet. As she grew older, of course, her freedom ended. Parisian fashion, 1919. France, as the metropolis of North Africa, apparently took part of its culture from there. The girl on the left is wearing zouaves, an item of national Algerian clothing, and the headdresses are also surprising. A gymnastics director demonstrates gymnastics equipment at a steel plant, Sweden, 1957. A woman tramples grapes to make wine in Frascati, Italy, 1957. Trampling grapes, or treading grapes, is part of the maceration method used in traditional winemaking. A.St. Mark's Square, Venice, 1950 to 1970s. Snow is not uncommon in this city, and in the 1960s there were such severe frosts that even the canals froze. On an Italian beach, 1960s. It's hot there on the beach, literally and figuratively. A swan gets into a car. England, 1936. A pet swan named Leela gets into a car and goes shopping with her owner. Leela is a pet of Mrs. Watson of Chesham, Buckinghamshire. The Tacoma Suspension Bridge in Washington that collapsed in November 1940. The bridge was originally built with serious errors. In strong winds, the road surface wobbled. Wedding photo, Wexford, Ireland, 1965. A simple Irish wedding. The photo turned out quite comical. Nurses visit patients during an epidemic. April 1919, Sydney, Australia. We have experienced similar times during COVID. History is cyclical. Women's swimming mask, 1920s. The Chinese have a similar mask called fachekini. It is designed for swimmers and beach lovers. It protects the skin from the sun while swimming. A cook holds a giant cabbage at a camping Werrapa, New Zealand, 1890. Everyone knows that babies used to be found in cabbages, hence the size. Post-apocalyptic wedding, 1989. The unusual photo shoot was organized by photographer Anatoly Zhdanov during his service in the GDR. According to the author, the series of shots warns of an impending ecological catastrophe on Earth. Miss Sweden, Miss USA, and Miss Germany, 1956. Super legs, natural faces, charm. And what have we come to after all these years? American wrestler Everett Marshall practices wrestling techniques on his wooden sparring partner. 1936. Photographers on their way to work. Canada, Ontario, 1912. In those days, taking a single shot was quite a challenge. Now, everyone has a mobile camera in their pocket. The Reduco-matic portable sauna, popular in the 1940s. It was believed to burn fat. A roasted chestnut vendor in Soho, London, UK, 1935. What a friendly look. It makes you want chestnuts. A train passes through densely populated areas along Kensal Rise, London, 1921. These houses still exist today, with the building in the background being a primary school. Nazar, Extremadura, Portugal, 1976. La Garda is a Portuguese festival of letting go of the balls. In neighbouring Spain, this festival is called Encierro. A schoolgirl, winner of the Duke of Edinburgh's Prize Gold Medal at London Zoo, 1971. Burmese women strolling through London, 1935. The Burmese girls were taking part in a circus show, entertaining the local public. Nylon stockings undergo rigorous testing in the Marks and Spencer's Textile Laboratory, 1955. The first nylon tights appeared in the USA, 1939. A baker, London, 1910. He rang a bell to attract customers as he walked the streets with his wares on a tray on his head. 3 policemen test life jackets in the Port of London, 1930. Photographers around a racing car at the Olympia Conference Hall, UK, 1971. Did any of the photographers there see the car? A small boy with a tiny suitcase talks to the driver of a large Southern Railway locomotive before it leaves for Brighton, London, 1924. This famous photograph formed the basis of an advertising campaign for British Railways. Children's entertainment in England, Newcastle, 1979. A man is a boy who accidentally survived, and it doesn't matter what country you grew up in. Unfortunately, such games often ended very soddily. Careful ladder. Window cleaners in Noordwijk, Netherlands, 1955. Toyn de Vries and Job Kovets used a ladder for their window cleaning business in the small village of Noordwijk in Holland and carried it around on their bicycles. Terrace of the Café de Flore, Paris, 1950. The famous cafe opened in 1887 and became famous for attracting an intellectual crowd. Foraging, an Aboriginal woman digs for food near a macrozamia palm tree, whose nuts can be used to make flour. Australia, 1955. Blacksmith's workshop, Persia, 1902. In 1935, Persia changed its name and became Iran. The Persian is wearing slippers a la Little Muck. Treetop Lodge, Isiolo, Kenya, 1964. A lodge with a view of the world for observing animals in their natural habitat. For Indian porters carry a Western tourist in a palanquin. India, 1922. A palanquin is a covered stretcher used as a carriage for the rich and noble in the East. Taxi station with local drivers and tourists. Istanbul, Trakai, 1936, 1939. Unfortunately, Men don't dress like that even on holidays these days. From the photo, it might seem like a still from a mafia movie. A nurse at a health facility teaches rural women methods and forms of birth control. Iran, 1960s. A boy with a bunch of bananas hanging from a bush. Jamaica, 1900. Well, it's not a bush, it's a banana tree. Although a banana is a herb. What a paradox.